Iran's Supreme Leader has warned Muslim nations, support Israel or block Gaza aid and you'll wear eternal shame. As famine grips Gaza and deaths surpass 59,000, Tehran accuses Israel of war crimes and urges an emergency Islamic summit. Meanwhile, Iran tests a missile-capable satellite launcher and threatens to pull security from the Strait of Hormuz if Europe reimposes sanctions. With Russia and China now at the table, Iran is drawing red lines loud and clear. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei warned Muslim states on July 21st against aiding Israel or blocking Gaza aid, even as Tehran's foreign minister accused the Jewish state of imposing starvation on civilians and described its actions as war crimes. Taking to his X handle, Khamenei said,
"Today isn't the time to remain silent regarding Gaza. Muslim governments have heavy responsibilities. If any Muslim government backs the Zionist regime in any form and blocks aid to Palestine, they must know with certainty that an eternal shame will mark their forehead."
His comments came amid a worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza, during a war that began after Hamas-led militants attacked Israel on October 7, 2023. Reports say that over 59,000 Palestinians, including women and children, have so far been killed in the Israeli offensive. The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza warned on July 20th that hundreds could die as hospitals fill with patients weakened by hunger and collapsing aid access, while the UN said civilians face starvation without urgent assistance. According to the ministry, at least 67 Palestinians were killed by Israeli fire as they waited for UN aid trucks in northern Gaza on Sunday. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi condemned the incident in a post on X on July 21st, calling it
a blatant example of war crimes and crimes against humanity.
Araghchi said Israel had used measures such as depriving civilians of water, medicine, and food, and blamed both the United States and Israel for what he called death traps at aid distribution sites. In a separate statement on Telegram, Araghchi said he spoke with Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, who currently chairs the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, and called for an emergency OIC summit to address what he described as genocide in Gaza and Israeli aggression in the region. Iran's top air defense commander, Brigadier General Alireza Sabahifard, who leads the Qatam al-Anbiya air defense base, said the country's skies are being vigilantly guarded day and night following the recent 12-day conflict with Israel. He said Iran's air defense forces are operating with open eyes and full strength and will, in his words, rub the nose of aggressors into the dirt, backed by military capabilities and trust in God. The Qatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters, Iran's highest operational military command, oversees planning, coordination, and operational supervision of all armed forces. Its air defense base is responsible for coordinating and operating air defense activities across both the Army and the Revolutionary Guards, IRGC. On July 20th, Mahmoud Mousavi, the Army's deputy for operations, said Iran has replaced air defense systems damaged during last month's conflict with Israel. Moreover, in a bid to strengthen its defenses, Iran carried out a suborbital test of its cast satellite carrier on July 21st. Aiming to evaluate new technologies under development in the country's space program, the IRGC-affiliated Tasnim news agency reported. According to the report, the launch was designed to assess emerging capabilities in Iran's aerospace sector. It further said that the results of this test will be used to improve the performance of Iran's satellites and broader space systems. Such tests by Iran have previously drawn Western concern due to the dual-use potential of the launch vehicle, capable of delivering satellites or potentially ballistic payloads.
The same rocket that launches satellites can launch missiles. It's the identical technology. The Islamic Republic calls this space research, but every test improves their ability to hit targets at long range. There's no meaningful difference between a space launcher and a ballistic missile in this instance.
Iran's January 2024 launch of the Suraya satellite aboard the Qaem 100 rocket drew condemnation from the European Troika, E3, Britain, France, and Germany. In a joint statement, the E3 expressed concern over Iran's ongoing missile tests, highlighting that the Qaem 100 launcher uses the same technology as Iran's long-range ballistic missiles. These launches enable Iran to test technologies that could potentially advance its ballistic missile program, the statement said. The US has also consistently criticized Iran's satellite launches, citing violations of Security Council resolutions due to perceived connections with its ballistic missile program. In September 2023, Iran deployed the Noor-3 imaging satellite into orbit, positioned at an altitude of 450 kilometers, utilizing a cased launch vehicle. Iran will host a high-level meeting with Russian and Chinese officials in Tehran on July 22nd, part of a diplomatic effort to shield the country from the threat of reimposed UN sanctions under the 2015 nuclear deal's snapback mechanism.
We are in constant consultation with these two countries to prevent activation of the snapback or to mitigate its consequences. We have aligned positions and good relations.
The trilateral talks, which will take place at Director General level, are aimed at coordinating a response to growing pressure from the West over Iran's nuclear program, Baghai said. Tehran has long portrayed Russia and China as reliable allies, citing their support in trade, defense, and diplomatic arenas. Meanwhile, a senior Iranian lawmaker warned on July 21st that Tehran could halt its regional maritime security cooperation, including in the Strait of Hormuz, if European powers move to reimpose United Nations sanctions via the so-called snapback mechanism. Abbas Moqtadai, deputy chair of Iran's Parliamentary Committee on National Security and Foreign Policy, said the potential activation of the mechanism by the UK, France, and Germany would be viewed as a hostile act akin to military aggression.
If pressure continues, our self-restraint may come to an end. We have many tools in our disposition. We can withhold our commitment to security in the region, Persian Gulf and Hormuz Strait, as well as other maritime areas.
He added that Iran has so far prevented harm to Western interests in the region, but reserves the right to respond with measures across the security, economic, political, and cultural spheres. The remarks follow growing tensions between Iran and European parties to the 2015 nuclear deal, who accused Tehran of breaching its commitments. The E3 have said they would restore international sanctions on Iran by the end of August if the country did not enter productive talks on its nuclear program with Western powers. Moqtadai urged European governments to reconsider their approach and instruct their ambassadors to provide more accurate assessments of Iran's domestic conditions.